Coming up in the news tonight, the F&M ratifies its final four, among them a new candidate for Pine Ridge. AML to invest $3.5 million in a store downtown Freeport. And COVID-19 hospitalizations on the rise again. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening. I'm Atalia Hall. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping the news tonight, the governing Free National Movement ratifying its last four candidates for the upcoming general election in the capital last night. The final four announced last night were Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis for Killarney, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Public Works Desmond Bannister for Carmichael, Director of Labor John Pinder for Fox Hill, and Deputy Controller of Road Traffic on Grand Bahama Wellborn Boodle for the Pine Ridge constituency. The F&M and the Progressive Liberal Party now ratified all 39 candidates. The next general election is due in May of 2022. In other news, it was a move. Member of Parliament for Pine Ridge, Frederick McAlpine, says he was waiting on to move forward with his political life. Now that the Free National Movement has ratified a candidate for the Pine Ridge constituency, the F&M sitting member is announcing his plan to run as an independent. Shoshino Farquharson reports.
Outspoken Member of Parliament for Pine Ridge, Frederick McAlpine, making the announcement today that he will be running as an independent in the upcoming general election. McAlpine also making it clear that he is no longer a member of the Free National Movement. Now, all of this coming one day after the F&M ratified Deputy Controller of Road Traffic, Wellborn Boodle. The Member of Parliament for Pine Ridge, Frederick McAlpine, says one thing is for sure. Rejection by the leadership of any political organization is not a rejection from the people whom he loves and have spoken up for.
I will offer myself as an independent candidate in the upcoming general election to continue my service to God and country through and for the people of Pine Ridge.
So just where does this leave McAlpine with the F&M?
According to the Constitution of the Free National Movement, once I would have moved to, they would have ratified their candidate, and I have moved to become an independent candidate, I am now therefore null and void in terms of membership with the Free National Movement.
But McAlpine says his focus is now on winning the Pine Ridge seat, and he believes that he can do that based on his record. And he's also leaving this message with residents of Pine Ridge.
Pine Ridge, I urge you, rather than making it about colors and parties or leadership, vote to maintain your voice.
The current Member of Parliament also taking the opportunity to thank the local and national F&M Council, the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Hubert Ingram, and the leader of the F&M.
For the opportunity to serve and to inform Prime Minister Minnis publicly that I have no bitterness, hatred, or ill will against him. I am a practicing Christian.
Now, McAlpine says he has already selected an official color. That color is purple, which stands for royalty. And if you are wondering what his official symbol is, well, he says it is a water droplet. That's the only thing that can clean crabs and put out fire. Shoshino Farquharson, ZNS Network News.
In other news, Abaco Markets Limited, the parent company of Solomon's, announcing that it will invest $3.5 million to reopen Solomon's Freeport. The store will be located in the former Winn-Dixie building downtown Freeport. The new 20,000 square foot store will feature a Solomon's neighborhood format and will add approximately 40 new jobs to the Freeport economy. AML officials said they were working on the plans and details throughout the COVID-19 pandemic and are now ready to move ahead. According to the statement, local contractors and artisans would be contracted to complete more than 80% of the work on the $3.5 million development. AML hopes to open the downtown location in March of next year, noting that this location has been iconic for the Grand Bahama community, and they expect this investment will act as a catalyst for the revitalization of the downtown area. Now, Solomon's original store on Queens Highway was destroyed after sustaining extensive extensive damage due to Hurricane Dorian. A dramatic increase in COVID-19 hospitalizations in the country. The latest COVID-19 dashboard showing 67 cases, 15 cases on Grand Bahama. 2 of those cases are in ICU. The total number of cases is now just over 13,400. There are 69 new cases, 1 in Eleuthera, 8 in Grand Bahama, and 60 in New Providence. The number of deaths have now jumped to 273. That's after the Ministry of Health is reporting 4 deaths in New Providence, 1 in Bimini, and 1 in Eleuthera between July 3rd and July 14th. Additionally, health officials are reporting 7 recent COVID deaths on Grand Bahama that occurred between April and May of this year. In other news, concerns are being expressed about the apparent delay in the vaccination process here on Grand Bahama. In this report, the head of the Grand Bahama Task Force says there is no need for alarm. When visiting the vax.gov.bs website, no appointments are currently available for persons seeking the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine on Grand Bahama. Now, according to a press release from the National COVID-19 Vaccine Consultative Committee, vaccines will be limited to second doses until additional doses of the vaccine are received in country. Now, head of Grand Bahama's COVID-19 Task Force, Dr. Frank Bartlett says the health team in Grand Bahama are making sure that there is an adequate supply of vaccines to cover those persons who would have already received their first jab.
And this is why right now, up until the 27th, we're actually only offering those persons who require a second dose in an attempt to have more persons fully vaccinated. And that's the main reason why we see that out and on the site. We're only allowing those persons who would have had their first dose to be registered.
Now the country is scheduled to receive 33,600 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine before the end of July. The Bahamas has also been informed that additional vaccines will be made available in the third quarter of 2021 through a donation from the United States via the Caribbean Public Health Agency and through the COVAX facility. Dr. Bartlett says the health team is looking at the Pfizer vaccine as well, as it can capture the pediatric group. He says there's a high demand for vaccines across the world, but he says there is no need for people who are interested in the vaccine to panic.
Rest assured that the government of Bahamas and the health sector are making all efforts to ensure that the vaccination program continues.
The doctor confirming that there are cases where some people have received their first shot and have not come back for their second shot until some 15 to 16 weeks later. Dr. Bartlett urging persons to visit the vaccination center for their second dose 7 weeks after their first dose.
Because you still have a chance of contracting COVID-19 after your first dose.
He says the amount of hospitalizations on the health dashboard are concerning.
Hospitalizations in Nassau, hospitalizations in Grand Bahama are up. We are almost at capacity here in Grand Bahama as it relates to hospitalization, so that becomes an issue for us. It's important more than ever now for persons in the community to adhere to the social distancing and the public health guidelines that we have out there.
The head of the COVID-19 task force warning that if the island is not able to control the amount of hospitalizations, then restrictions will have to be closely looked at and implemented. It's Halia Hall, ZNS Network News. Now, the Office of the Prime Minister announcing that a registration portal is now live for Bahamians and residents who have been vaccinated for COVID-19 abroad. Bahamian citizens and residents who have been fully vaccinated for COVID-19 outside of the Bahamas are now able to register their vaccination status online through the vax.gov.bs website. Persons are asked to click on the Register Your Foreign Vaccination Only button, complete the questionnaire, and upload your vaccination certificate. Persons registering will not receive a local Vax Pass, but will be included in the database as being vaccinated. This will provide a more accurate account of all Bahamians and residents who are vaccinated for the local and international reporting of COVID-19 vaccination numbers. In other news, a Grand Bahama man found dead over in Cat Key. The man, believed to be a construction worker, was discovered unresponsive. Police say co-workers administered CPR but were unable to revive him. He was taken to the Cat Key clinic where he was pronounced dead. Now police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the man's death. 2 juvenile females stabbed about the body in 8 Mile Rock. Police say around midnight, officers received a report of a stabbing incident. Officers from the 8 Mile Rock police station responded to a local business establishment in Jonestown, 8 Mile Rock, where they met the 2 juvenile females suffering from stab wounds. Police say the juveniles were in the company of an adult male when they were attacked and stabbed about the body by a group of females. They were both taken to hospital. One of the females was treated for her injuries and released, while the other remains in hospital in serious but stable condition. Now a juvenile female is currently in police custody assisting with this investigation. Tonight, we close out our profile of farmers who are working towards self-sufficiency, some 48 years of independence. In this report, Jamila Mizik talks with a young livestock farmer who says the implementation of technology can change the traditional way of farming going forward.
My name is Terrence Roberts, Managing Director at Berkshire Bahamas Farms.
Berkshire Bahamas Farms is a family-owned farm established back in May 2019. The farm is the home of some 90 pigs, chickens, and crops on a small scale. Robert says 2 of their main focuses are sustainability and community.
Right now, we believe that as Bahamians, we have lost our way, where our parents and grandparents started out with farming and raising food for ourselves to eat. And at this point now, we just used to going to get fast food and knowing nothing about being outside. So we feel like right now is the time where we can also inspire young kids. So we do farm tours and we allow them to come out to see the pigs, the chickens that we raise. We're supported by a number of organizations like the SBDC. We were in programs like the SBR, and now we're at the World Central Kitchen. And also the government is having some incentives where they're assisting with some donations, because we all understand what's going on right now in the country. And like I said, we have to be able to feed ourselves.
The Bahamas imports $1 billion worth of food. $600 million of that includes fruits and vegetables, meat, and poultry. Robert talks the benefits of locally grown product as opposed to importing.
The good thing about raising pigs is the turnover rate is very quick. The gestation period is just about 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days. So you can turn over at least 10 pigs per litter. So if you have 10 sows, that's about an average of 100 piglets every 6 months. So with that being the case, and also with pigs, they grow very quickly. So that's one of the main reasons we chose pigs. And it's one of the largest consumed items. And usually it's one of the cheapest items. But with our product, we raise them for a higher quality market.
Roberts, a young farmer, says there are more like-minded individuals like himself joining the industry.
But I took a trip 2 years ago and I sat with one of my uncles in Exuma, Kenneth Bo, who raises his own pigs, and he harvests them for his own restaurant. So he's able to turn them over, and it just made economic sense to me. And when I started looking at the problems that we have in our society and the solutions that we can provide to fix that, I figured, it's prime time to get involved in that.
He says the implementation of technology can change the traditional way of farming by making your system more structured and more efficient, a route he soon plans to take.
We're going into the pasture now, so we're setting up some posts and we're running electric fencing. So it's low voltage, but the animals are very smart. Once you train them young, they get a little zap and they're trained, okay, once I see that line, I won't cross that anymore. But it also cuts down the cost, and you can use a larger space. And also what makes a lot of sense with that, you're able to rotate your land. So if you leave the animals on that plot of land for a few weeks, they'll root it up, but they'll also fertilize it. And once you're able to allow that to rest for a bit, then you can move the animals and grow crops there as well. So there are a lot of ways that we can, and methods that we can use to develop the way farming is, and with the use of technology. And also that I've noticed that a lot of farmers are so traditional, they write things down, but they forget that, hey, you can use computers, you can use QuickBooks, you can treat it as a business.
Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
Pumpkin, bananas, peas, and corn.
Shamila, stay with us. There's more news right after this break.